Okay, so I decided just to put together a little video of some of the little sequence of some poses and some moves that will help get babies into a good position, and also some of the really common postures that we do in labor and birth. So to start out, I just wanted to start with a breathing exercise, and you can either sit cross-legged or you can roll up a blanket and sit at the very end of the blanket. For me, I'm going to use two blocks so that my pelvis is a little bit elevated so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. So just sit on the end there, just finding a comfortable position. I always like to just take a moment and just ground. So putting one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and just bring your awareness to your breath. And then we'll start out with doing a little bit of pelvic floor awareness. And so really understanding about how the breath and the pelvic floor, which is that hammock of muscles that go from the so your sits bones, your pubic bone, your sits bones to your coccyx. So it's that hammock there. So just by starting out, we'll first start out by doing our J breath. So our deep belly breath. And so you're going to inhale and imagine that you're trying to have the bottom of your ribs expand, filling up your abdomen as much as possible. So we'll do some slow deep breaths. Inhale. And exhale. And one more time. Inhale. And exhale. And now I just want you to bring your focus, your awareness to your pelvic floor muscles, and just imagine what's happening with them when they're inhaling. And so on the inhale, you'll feel them expand like a balloon that's inflating, and on the exhale, feeling them draw up. And so see if you can connect to that. So let's try. So inhale. You can feel those muscles pressing into the floor, and then exhale. You can go ahead and give them a squeeze as well. And again, inhale. And exhale, drawing up. And so the next thing I want you to do is look at the motion, get a sense for the motion of your pelvic floor when you're doing the inhales and the exhales. And so on the inhale, your pelvic floor is expanding, and you might feel that your sacrum is tilting forward. So you're rolling forward on your sits bones. And on the exhale, rocking back. And then you might feel your lower abdomen tucking in towards your spine. So inhale, rocking forward. You can feel your sits bones expanding. And on the exhale, rocking back. Drawing that lower abdomen into the spine. So if I turn this way, we can just make that movement a little bit bigger as we start to warm up our spine. And so from here, hands on the top of your thighs. So we're going to inhale, chest goes forward, chin goes up, extending your neck. And on the exhale, chin tucked into your chest and rounding the spine. So inhale. And again, feeling what's happening with your sacrum. And if you want to open up and start to involve your upper back and your neck, you can inhale and your elbows go out, chest goes forward, and on the exhale, rounding your spine and bringing those elbows together. So inhale, we're expanding, and exhale, contracting. You can do that a couple more times. Go. And then we'll move to our hands and knees, which is always a good position for getting babies into, so that back is in the front half of the body. And so we'll do a couple positions just on our hands and knees. So start out with your in tabletop. So your hands are underneath your shoulders and your hips underneath your knees. And just start like you've got a tail that you're just gonna start to wag it back and forth, so wagging the tail. Just moving your hips from side to side. And then moving into hip circles. And so you can come over to one side and then round forward. So come forward, over to the other side, and then press back. And you can make these hip circles. You might want to move your hands and your knees a little bit further apart if you really want to get more of your upper body and your side body involved. So you can see I'm actually doing a lot of forward movement here and then pressing back. So again, you can make that as big or as little as you want, going in the opposite direction. And then coming back to neutral for our traditional cat-cow. And so from here, you're gonna inhale, your belly is gonna, you're gonna drop your belly towards the mat, inhale, and then slowly look up and open your chest, so leading with your chest. And then on the exhale, tucking that chin in, rounding your spine, really pressing into your hands and extending your arms, having them nice and straight. And then again, inhale, allow everything to open, and then exhale. And then here, tucking that lower abdomen in towards your spine, do a little bit of core work. And then you can just do a couple more of these. And you can breathe and move. You can focus on the inhales and the exhales, or you can just move and just make sure that you're breathing. And when you're done, coming back to neutral. And then just sitting back on your heels for a moment. So I'm going to show you two versions. We'll do two more poses, child's pose and puppy pose. So for child's pose, you want to have your knees a little bit further distance than your feet. And from here, you're just going to walk your hands forward. And if you want to put a pillow or a couple books, I'll use my blocks to rest your head in, you can do that. So you just slowly bring your forehead towards the mat. It's a little bit too high. Yeah. So here, so you should get a nice stretch in your lower back. You can untuck your toes if you want. Now, if you keep your arms extended, you're going to get a stretch on the underneath your arms. You'll feel that. But if you just want to rest your arms and just focus on more of the back stretch here, you can do that as well. And you just want to stay here for some long, slow, deep breaths. Making sure your knees are nice and wide so you got lots of space for your baby. So to show you another option, it's called puppy pose. And again, your hands are going to go to the top of the mat. And as you're instead of bringing your forehead directly down to the mat, you're going to think about bringing your chest. And so you're going to get much more of a curvature in your mid back here. And so for some women, this actually feels really nice. And again, you can bring your head down to the mat once you're in that position. You can rest on a block, or maybe bring your chin down. So again, you can see a bit more of a curvature in the back there. And my sits bones are obviously nice and open. And then slowly coming up. When we're doing these sorts of poses in pregnancy, we want to make sure that we're not holding them for too long. And so just a couple breaths, because we don't ever want to be restricting blood flow too much to any certain area of the body. Okay, so for the next series of postures, I like to use a chair. And so the safest thing is to have the chair pushed up against a wall, but just make sure that it's nice and sturdy. And so I'll just show you a couple different stretches that you can do utilizing your chair. So again, remember we have I think I showed you this maybe in class, is you can do like a version of child's pose, and that's just that's leaning forward. And so you can lean forward, and again, just lay here and rock your hips from side to side. That's one option. Or if you've got a Swiss ball, same sort of thing. So the next one is opening up your hip muscles here, is doing lunges. And so you can place yourself, just use yourself however far away you need to be from your chair. And you can move your foot around. So if you start out nice and close to the chair, and then you can lean forward, and I should be getting a nice stretch in the front of this thigh and in this hip here. So you're just going to come forward, and you can either hold it or you can kind of rock back and forth. And then you can play with this foot, and maybe you want to put it out a little bit more and go more on an angle to get more of the inner thighs. And so just sort of whatever feels good to you. And if you put this foot so it's directly at a 45-degree angle from your knee, you're in this kind of nice kneeling warrior two pose. And from here, you can extend your arms out straight and then drop that forearm to your thigh. Give a nice side stretch. And then again, using your chair for balance, you can use your chair to do the opposite side. So some nice stretches there to open up the sides of your body. And then you can do that on the other side. So again, starting close to the chair and then doing some leaning. You can do some pulsing, or you can just static hold. Yeah, and then moving that foot out to get a different angle of your hips. Whatever feels good. You find some areas are tighter than others. And then finding your way to that warrior two pose, inhaling your arms out, dropping your forearm to your thigh, give a nice side stretch, and then using the chair to go backwards. It just gives you a little bit more support. Yeah. And then if you want to do a hamstring stretch, this is actually, the chair is a nice way to use as support. So you can just extend your leg out. Toes can be kind of just relaxed, or they can be pointed up to the ceiling. And again, you can just use your chair to lean over to get a nice stretch in the back of your thigh. This is also good because remember, these muscles all attach to your hips, and you want to make sure that they're not really tight so that your hips can move freely. And then just changing sides. Just taking your time. You can hold this for as long as you want. And you can do little pulses or keep it static. And you can move your leg closer to the chair or out wide, whatever feels good. And just a couple breaths. And then releasing. So I'll show you a couple different options for squats. But in this one, if you want to use your chair to support yourself into a squat, and I'll face you so that I can show you a little duck walk that some women do, so that you're using the chair to support in your squatting position, and then just moving your knees from alternating, touching the mat. This is a nice way, although I find it's a little bit hard on your feet. So you can always use the back of your chair, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. And slowly coming up. So just a couple standing postures, and these are really good for strengthening your leg muscles, because as your baby gets bigger, you're going to need your muscles of your legs to support the weight of the baby. And also when you're carrying them for the first year, you've got that extra weight, so it's good to actually strengthen your arms and your legs. And so another version of a forward fold that I demonstrated in class, and you can do this as many times as you want when you're at work if you're getting some soreness in your back, is taking the end of the chair and walking your feet out so that your arms, once they come straight, you can gently put your ears kind of in line with the inner arms, and then your feet should be underneath your hips, and you can just stay here for a little stretch. If your hamstrings are really tight, just bend your knees a little bit, and then you can just rock your pelvis from side to side if that feels good. That's another little inversion. And then coming up. And then you can use your chair to support you if you want to do some lunges. And so you just step one foot back, and you can either drop your foot down or keep your toe up. It's pretty easy to do when you've got the chair. And then just doing lunging, bending your knees down, being really careful that this knee doesn't go too far over your foot. And so you want to be focused. If that's the case, you just have to move that back foot back. And so just you can either do up and down, or you can do little pulses, or you can do a static hold until you feel some burn in your legs, which is already happening. And then also remember that this is a time that you can also focus on keeping your your breath nice and even, and your face nice and relaxed. And so similar to what we experience when we're in labor, that we have one part of our body that's feeling a lot of tension or soreness, but then you're able to sort of keep your mind and your breath calm. I'm just doing these on the other side. You can hold, do some pulses. And then when you feel enough of the burn, you can come out. So another strengthening exercise for your glute muscles and your quads would be squats. And so I showed this in class, that if you walk back a little bit further and you use this as a lever, you can actually, you should be able to press your butt back, so like you're sitting in a chair, and then push up. So coming down into that deep squat, and up, come back a little bit more. We talked about this when women often like to hold on to something when they're pushing, when they're squatting. So you can just practice and do some of those. And just however many you feel like you want to do. And then you come and just remember about your hip circles, your spiraling. So spiraling like Mother Earth. And then the opposite way. And then you can do more of a more open, deeper squat. And so we call this goddess pose. And so your feet are kind of pointing to the top of the mat, or like 45 degrees angles. Again, you can use your chair if you need to, and you're just going to take a deep bend so that your knees aren't too far off over your feet. And again, you can just rock from side to side, or you can do some pulses, or you can do some up, down. So if you're feeling a lot of pain in your pubic symphysis, in this area there, you don't want to do these. You want to keep your feet hip width distance apart, okay? Going back to our goddess pose, and then you can slide your arms to the top, your hands to the top of the thighs, and then do a little mini twist. Center. And then I'll show you another version of the squats. So I like to do this at some point, and the purpose of the squats in this exercise, so I'll just show you some options. So I like to sit on blocks because I find squatting uncomfortable, but some women are pretty good and can get into this position. And if you've got the support of the chair, you can lean forward on it or hold on to it. But after a while, I feel like my feet get really sore. Because you want to get yourself into a position. This is why I like to use blocks. You can place your elbows on the inside of your knees, and from here, instead of the inhaling with the pelvic floor, inhaling, let it expand, and then exhaling, contract. With this one, with every breath, I want you to try to relax your pelvic floor more and more. So this is more for when the baby's coming. Is that you want to be able to not tighten up when you're feeling that pressure. And so it's just about connecting with that area. So allow yourself to go inwards. And with every breath, just seeing if you can release your pelvic floor. And if you're really struggling with that, if you can think about relaxing your face and your jaw and your mouth, because we talk about how the face is reflected in the perineum. So if you can't connect to the pelvic floor, then try to connect to your face and see if you can allow it to soften and to relax. And if this is too uncomfortable, you can even just use the corner of your chair. Sit on the corner or the edge of the chair. So even if you just sit on the corner there, you can open up get a nice opening into your pelvic floor, and then again, you can just focus on relaxing. So that's another option. And let's see, if we head down to the mat, just a couple lying down positions. After I do the squats, I feel like I always want to do butterfly. And so just bringing the soles of your feet together, and you can keep your feet close to your body or they can be out here. And then if it feels okay, you can do a little fluttering. Yep. Or you can even try a forward fold. You could put a pillow there, or even I would use my blocks. And with this forward fold, you want to think about straightening your spine, so you're not collapsing over your baby, but you're actually getting your spine nice and straight in like a plank that you're just coming forward. So you can rest your elbows on your inner thighs and just come forward, and like an inch. You may feel it enough to think, yep, that's all I need to do. If this is too uncomfortable in your groin, you can try bringing your legs out to the side and then just walking your hands, resting them on a pillow or something. Again, you're going to get this nice stretch in your hamstring and in your lower back. And you can just breathe and hold. And then just a couple of side lying positions. And so you can grab a pillow if you want. Get yourself nice and comfortable, or you can just use your elbow. So bending your knees so that they're stacked at a 45-degree angle. Just lift that top. We can lift this leg all the way up if you want, if that feels okay. Again, just giving a nice stretch, allowing the blood flow to come back into the pelvis. And then from here, dropping your heel towards your bum, grabbing the top of your foot, and then you're gonna kind of shoot this leg straight so it's in line with your hips. You should get a nice quad stretch. So, especially if you've done some lunges, this will feel good to do. And then one of the postures that I showed during class is really great for pushing is grabbing the bottom of your knee and then bringing it towards your shoulder. And so we talked about how that's a nice position because you're really opening up your pelvis, and your sacrum has plenty of room to open up as well. So you can do that. And then turn around. You can do that on the other side. And when you're finished with that, then you can just do your nice kind of relaxation time. And you can either use a couple pillows, or I guess I'll just use these, or a blanket that I've rolled up. And you want to set these up so they're just kind of at the bottom of your belly. And then so this bottom leg is relatively straight, and then you bend this one, just kind of roll on top, and then just allow yourself some time to relax. This is actually a really nice time that you can, bring some positive affirmations in your mind and kind of tap into your, you can breathe into any areas that might feel tense, or, give yourself just a moment to just settle into a really deep relaxation. And then go about your day. So that was just a few minutes of a little sequence. So I hope that you found it helpful, and we'll see you soon.